So we are going to start Conversations from Home, Volume 5, Yukiya Izumita ceramic artist, Felice Fischer, and Glenn Adamson. We are very happy to continue our conversations with artists in Japan and curators, scholars in America, and we feel so connected and blessed with this experience of conversations. So we are very, very happy. So today, our special artist, ceramic artist, is Yukiya Izumita, and our two special guests are Felice Fischer, Curator Emerita of Japanese and East Asian Art at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and then Glenn Adamson, Curator and Writer. So hi Felice and hi Glenn.
Hello.
Hello, very nice to see you all.
Hi. So hi Felice, are you in Philadelphia? How are you feeling today?
Very well in the air conditioning, thank you. It's hot outside.
Okay. Actually, even a little chilly in the gallery right now. Actually, recently I came back to the gallery after this soft reopening this week, and then my home it's no air conditioner, only fan, but here it's so cool. And how about Glenn?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. I'm up in the Hudson River Valley. I feel very fortunate to be here.
Oh, nice.
Up in the hot city, yes. But you have much nicer ceramics behind you than I do.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we are connecting to Yukiya Izumita, I would like to go through a couple of rules with the audience. So keep your audio and video off during the event because we want to feature speakers only. So please keep your audio turned off. And then there will be a moment at the end of the conversation for a short Q&A. So questions are always welcome in the public chat. Feel free to type in anytime during the event so we can pick up in the questions. And then also change your Zoom view to gallery view. I recommend you to click gallery view, but located at the top right of the screen. Okay, so before we are connecting to Yukiya Izumita, I would like to start introducing about Yukiya Izumita. So Yukiya Izumita's studio is situated in Noda village on the border between Iwate and Aomori prefectures in Japan's northernmost ceramic production area. Facing the Pacific Ocean, the Tohoku region's distinctive climate is forged by strong winds and rough seas. Izumita's native landscape lies amidst deserted coastlines, cracked driftwood, rusty ships, and salmon hanging up to dry. He digs up his own clay from the salt-rich fields near the coast. On his journey back, he becomes conscious of the profound weight he carries on his shoulders and feels throughout his body. He imagines deeply in his desire to make this weight lighter, a conceptual mantra that carries through in his art practice. Opposite, conflicting elements such as crude and beauty, weak and strong, fleeting and eternal, he aims to discover a single point where these contradictory aspects can comfortably coexist. To achieve this, he takes paper, just regular used pieces of paper, and begins to fold it freely to his heart's content. As he said, Most times my hand understands more than my head does. The paper rapidly takes on shapes. Unforeseen lines appear. Light and shade give form to a new space as Izumita searches for a balance between the medium's fragility and its resistance. Experience has taught Izumita the transient fragility of existence and a love for the appearance of nature's gradual decay. Life changes as it wanes with the passage of time. The world itself resembles a huge ceramic work, he said. I wonder if I will be able to leave my own mark here. His hometown of Rikuzen Takata was swept away by the great tsunami of March 2011. At the solo exhibition he held at Ippodo Gallery, New York, the year following this tragedy, he fascinated the people of the world with works that overflowed with earthly energy, pieces that seemed to resonate with the sound of the waves. While these objects may appear to be airy and float ethereal, they also conjure a feeling of being monumental, like ancient landmarks, conveying a profound amount of time. Picking up his tea bowl, it possesses at once weightlessness and warmth. Some of the surprising forms he creates appear primitive, like African art, but simultaneously avant-garde, like the architecture of Frank Gehry. Confronted with Izumita's wares, we find ourselves seized by an involuntary urge to reach out and touch. We are filled with a nostalgia for our childhood when we used to play with clay. Everything that springs forth from the earth eventually returns to it. The earth extends far in Izumita's work. So here, let's welcome Yukiya Izumita waiting in Japan. So, ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, Yukiya.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you? It's early in the morning. 朝早くですか？
とてもリラックスしてます。大丈夫です。はい。
So, Felice and Glenn, I would like to pass on to you any questions.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Good morning, Izumita-san. Thank you very much for waking up so early in the morning to share your art and your studio and your thoughts with us. I'm very happy to meet you, even if only virtually for now, having admired your work.
And likewise, greetings to you, Izumita-san. It's Glenn Adamson here. Thank you very much for joining us, and also many congratulations on the beautiful work. I'm looking forward to learning more about how you make it and also how you think about it.
先生の作品に関して今日はその考えとか思いを聞けることをすごく楽しみにしています。
よろしくお願いします。
So, Yukiya, do you want to show us some process like every day you're doing, like a paper or 先生作品をちょっと作るっていうのをちょっと見てください。先生、私の聞こえるかしら？
ちょっと音が小さいですね。
音が小さい、聞こえる。もう少し先にますけども、先生、
はい。
ちょっと作品を作ってる風景なんか 見せていただいてよろしいですか？作品の風景を作っている状況を。
あ、作品作ってる状況。じゃあちょっとこれ。あらかじめこういう状態で。ちょっと分かりにくいですけども、今、積層を重ねてますね。
So now he is layering the piece, 積層 part by part.
で、今、新しい作品を作ってまして、こういう茶碗を。
His recent table, the series, very, wow, this is very new style. 先生、すごい新しいですね。
ちょっと立体的ですけども、よりこの積層感を出そうと思って今チャレンジしてます。で、この積層部分をこのくらい積んだらば、こういうのでぐっと圧縮をかけます。で、圧縮させることによってこの辺の動きを出そうとしています。わかります？
So Glenn, do you see his work and any impressions you have?
で、最終的にこの状態がこの高さまでなったらば、ここの部分を後でつけます。ここの部分を後でつけて中を鳴らして、で、表面を、カットして、面の部分と層の部分の対比を見せたいと思っています。
So his recent piece now, it's more constructive and then very contemporary approach to the work. It's not the typical Japanese tea-bowl making. So
it's very interesting that a motif that was inside the wall of the ceramic has now grown out. It's like a geological shift in a way.
地形的な作品ですねって。
そうですね。作品はすべて小さいものであれ大きいものであれ、ランドスケープ的な要素がすごく強いですね。それは心の中の状態がすごくそれに近いんじゃないかなって私は思っていますね。
He appreciate the landscape of the nature. It's almost the same as his creation. The scenery of the nature landscape is the work he creates through earth. So sometimes like looking like a mountain or the earth, rocks and the seaside oceans. And Felice, do you have any
yes.
Yeah.
I think it almost looks like geological layers that build up over time, as they do in nature.
やはりフェリスもすごくジオロジカル、地生的な、地科学的な要素を感じるとおっしゃってます。
When I first saw
作品を
Please.
作品を映し出そうとするとき、私は土を状況だと捉えています。その状況に対して自分の心の中の、ありようを映し出すっていうのが私の制作の 基本の、スタイルになります。
He actually appreciates the piece of clay is almost his scenery and also his situation. That is his situation that deriver from his body.
だから心の中が揺れ動いてたり不安な時はそのように映されるし、心の中が晴れ晴れとしている時はそのように映されていく。でも最終的に状況は自分が心地いいと思うところで、あって気づく瞬間があるので、その状態で止めるようにしています。
Sometimes he's human. Sometimes he has a very happy time. Sometimes a very heavy time, very sad time. Emotion changes every single time. And so, however, the work as a result is some comfortable place that he overcome the sadness or heaviness. The work is his comfortable place to fit.
それで、心の中の状態が確実に最初よりも軽くなっているということに気づくんです。そうすると、自分は少し救われたなって作品を一つ作ることに思いますね。
And he realized that more he makes, his heart is getting lighter and lighter, and then this lightness is one of the key words of his work. So I would like to pass on Felice, since you have some museum collection of his work, and also I would like to hear your perspective as a curator. Could you start?
Thank you. When I first saw the Seiki-so series, my first image that popped into my mind from the museum collection was a jomon pot.
So, 最初に作品を見たときにまず感じたのが縄文土器のイメージを受けたそうです。
And as ceramic fans are aware that Jomon potters were the earliest potters in the world in Japan, and their 5,000-year legacy endures today in the very skillful and technically, highly technically skilled and aesthetically sophisticated work of contemporary potters like Izumita-san.
それで先生の現代はそれを今生きている人間が作るこの作品ははるか昔のものとは何かこう共鳴しているような気がしていると。
This is the work that we have at the museum on exhibit now from the Seiki-so series.
この作品が今フィラデルフィア美術館で現在飾られているものです。
すごいですね。
He is so happy to see his work in the museum.
And it will still be on view when the museum opens in the fall.
秋に美術館が再開したらまた人に来て入って見てもらえるけれども、今は美術館ちょっと一時閉じているけれどもっていう。
And as the Jomon potters used the nature around them, the waves of the water that we saw on that pot, I admired the inspiration that Izumita-san gets from the dunes and the waves in his work.
やっぱりその縄文にもこう波のようなものが現れていて、泉田先生の作品にもこの波というかそういう自然のこの形っていうものが表現されているから、そういうことを感じてますって。何か先生それに関して。
最初の頃は焼き物を始めた頃というのは末木とか弥生とかそういうものの質感にとかデザインに惹かれてたんですね。
He was once, when he started clay work, he was more inspired by sueki or yayoi after Jomon, more simple, very quieter pieces.
でもここ、4、5年ですかね、自然界やその自分の心の働きっていうものにすごく興味を持ってしまって、その中で感じるのが力っていうことなんですよ。力は決して目に見えない。だからその目に見えないものがどうやって映されて、この情景として現れているかというその力の流れにすごく興味を持ってますね。
But more he works, more he understands that nature is so powerful, and then those figures from nature inspires him. And then he always think about the power of the work, where the power of the work comes from. And he realized that that power is, we cannot see, but we can witness that the power in nature. So that's the kind of inspiration he always want to express and then capture through the clay work.
そうしているうちにどんどん縄文的な流れに結果として
As a result, perhaps his work comes to very Jomon-like, because it's so primitive and it's always resonate with nature. I think that's why you, Felice, felt his work resemble Jomon. Very interesting. And then any other questions, Felice?
When I was interested in the process of approaching the clay through the paper and the lightness of the paper. And it reminded me of when calligraphers have that sort of meditative, kinetic preparation of grinding the ink before taking up the brush. And I wonder if there's something of that element in Izumita-san's folding of the paper.
そうね、例えば書家がね、書に入る前にこう墨をすりながらこう瞑想するように、泉田先生にとってその作品に入る前に何かその手がけているような、心がけているようなステージはあるんでしょうかっていう。
ですね、具体的には決めてはいないんですけども、淡々とすること、淡々とできることをやります。まず、例えば掃除であったり、瞑想も含めてそうなんですけども、呼吸を整えて、なるべく今考えていることから離れて、ただただ呼吸に集中して、今自分は空気を吸って光をもらって、ただ生かされているということだけを考えるようにしてますね。
So every morning, it depends on the day, but he wants to first detach from whatever in his brain, like emotions or the problems or in his brain. So he works like a cleaning in his house or studio, cleaning, or just be meditative, just focus on the breathing, and that helps him to refresh his brain. That's he always do before he walks on the clay.
Yeah.
So Glenn, it's very interesting to hear your thoughts about his how he started the day and then work with the clay.
I would like to talk a little bit about the tea bowls. And in fact, Shoko, you have one behind you, I see.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to hold it up. We can also look at this beautiful one on screen, which is maybe a bit more detailed. And Shoko, is that the same one you have in your hand, Shoko?
Yes, this is the exact same one.
Well, this is the magic of Zoom. We can see it.
Yes, absolutely.
So what I think is so interesting about this composition is that it complicates the relationship between the inside and the outside that we usually think about when we think about pottery. And Shoko, maybe you want to translate that before I continue.
やっぱり茶碗の一つのコンセプトとしてその内なる世界と外なる世界というのがあると思う。器なのでこれは手にして、それまずそうのことですね。はい。Okay.
And I think of this as a great relationship in the creation of the chawan, the tea bowl, and in some ways it's similar to the relationship between the rectangle of the painting and the idea of depth that you have in a painting. So it could be perspective or some other kind of depth. And in a tea bowl, usually you have a similar relationship between the inside and the outside. It's a highly sophisticated, highly complex relationship in every great tea bowl.
やっぱりその絵画でも他の芸術でもあるように、そのやっぱり茶碗のその位置っていうのはすごく異なっていて、やっぱりそのもう少し複雑だと思うと、やっぱりその内なる世界、外なる世界、手に触れる、そういったことについては指摘されています。
So normally in a tea bowl, you have this relationship between inside and outside, and you can touch that and think about how those the dark space inside and the illuminated surface outside relate to one another. But what Izumita has done is to travel through that space using this technique of layering. And it's very evident in this tea bowl because we have this sense of a kind of communication right through the wall. So the wall is not actually a wall that divides or a kind of dead space in between the interior and the exterior. Rather, it's like a series of pathways, almost like a river or a road that leads through the wall.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. I wonder, are they to be used?
I was going to ask about that.
Yes, please do.
Well, maybe I could say one other thing too, which is just that there's also something very interesting about the drawing on the surface, if I can use that word. It's obviously not really drawing, but there's a sense of motion, which is again like water, like a river, or a kind of erosion, to go back to the point about the land and geology.
Yeah.
It also seems like a series of lines that have been drawn on a surface. So again, you have this very sophisticated relationship between what I would call surface articulation and the articulation of depth.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things seem to produce one another in a way, which I find incredibly unique. I really have not seen another tea bowl like that does this, that has this kind of passage through, that also serves as a kind of graphic composition at the same time. It's a kind of complexity that I think any painter would be very honored to have achieved. So it's fascinating to see it here on a pot. That's my dog.
The inner and outer of even a Japanese house, for example. Here you have the inner and outer of the tea bowl. It's very unique. Yes.
That's a great point. The passage between house and garden, for example, you could create a very strong comparison there. Well, I might just add one other thing, which is that it seems to me that although the technique is shared across many pieces, I feel like it's very different in effect in the more functional objects like the tea bowls and the more purely sculptural objects. Because I feel like in the sculptural objects, the technique is a means of form generation, like a way of inventing shape that lead you in these new directions that otherwise would be really unthinkable. Whereas here, the form is very familiar. I mean, it's so familiar. It's like the classic, right? Just as classic as the rectangular painting. So here, I feel like it's more like a kind of subtle manipulation of something that you already know. Whereas in the sculptures, it seems like it's more like a totally new territory. and as I say, a kind of pure invention because the form is being generated through the process.
その先生がその作ってる茶碗っていうのはやっぱりただの機能的なものじゃなくて、内なるもの、外なるもの、それを分け隔てなく器でもあるのにかかわらず、それをこう超えていく。茶碗はそれをすごく先生の作品の中でも特にそれを表現しているようで、自分はすごく興味を持って取り上げたいと。先生においてその茶碗を作る上での何かありますか？気持ちというか。
茶碗っていうのは自分にとってはその使う部分とその鑑賞のギリギリのところのせめぎ合いだと私は思ってまして。
So he appreciated the table very particularly because it's almost like an edge between functional and still sculpture. So he is standing on the very edge between the two border lines.
で、基本私はギリギリ使えれば頑張れば使えるっていうラインが大好きなんですね。
So he likes something very at the edge, something rarely stand or something really hold up. So those actually balance the very limited edge he likes.
そうすることによって作り手はより縛られることなく自由に自分の心のありのままの状態をその、土の一個の塊に映し出すことができやすくなる。で、最終的にたまたま水たまりがたまるところがあるくらいの感覚で作ることによって見る側に何にも縛られない開放感を与えるんじゃないかって私は思ってるんですね。
He believes that the edge between functional and sculpture or internal world and outside world, those between the edge, very limited edge, he believes that there is a freedom in between. And then, so in the freedom, he can create something very light, something people feel comfortable or relaxed or soothing. Something between the edge is always something you want to find a freedom. That's very philosophical and very interesting concept.
その時において私も全力、土も全力っていう状態。そのギリギリの状態をとどめるっていう。
So at the edge, something very, very hard to realize. It's like a merely stand or merely hold up. In the material brings out the best force out of it, and also he can make something best out of it when he is standing at the edge, when he is walking beyond his limitation, when he works harder. Like also clay works harder. Clay also beyond the clay's limitation. So it's a spark between the material and human, the making something beyond the limitation. And then in that area, he can find freedom.
Can you please show us the inside of the tea bowl that you have?
Okay,
so it can be used.
先生、これは使えることはできますね。Yes, actually, it's functional.
Yeah. That balance of being on the edge reminds me the piece we have in the museum. When people come to see it, they think it's very fragile and delicate. And they're always surprised to hear that it's in fact very solid and very heavy. And that's also sort of playing with the edge of reality.
やっぱりその他にも美術館に収蔵されている作品の中で、そういう 重さと軽さのせめぎ合いというか、そういった作品もあって、やっぱりとても先生の作品はそのバランスが際どいところだと思いますと。
人それぞれバランス感覚はあると思うんですね。そのバランス感覚こそが私一つ個性だと思っています。だからその人でなければバランスの取れないラインってあるので、その子は何なのかっていうのを常に意識しています。
So each individual, each of us has different balance, sense of balance. Your sense of balance is different from his sense of balance. But finding each one's balance is the beauty, and then work of clay and then work of himself. That's he believes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was also impressed by the fact that after the great tsunami and earthquake in 2011,
2011年においての経験に関してもやっぱりすごく感じておりますと。
津波に関しては、自然界の圧倒的な力っていうものを私は閉塞感として受け止めました。ものすごい無気力感とか何も自分には力がないんだっていうその閉塞感、その閉塞感という状況の中で自分がどのように映し出されていくのかで、あまりにも大きいので映し方が分からなかったんですけれども、それでもやっぱりいつものようにできることをやるっていうリズムを刻んでいくことで少しずつ自分の心が軽くなったという経験はあります。
So that heavy incident, that great tsunami swept away his hometown completely. That moment gave him realize that how powerless we are and how he is powerless himself. And then that way he was so lost. It's so small. Human cannot do anything in the nature. And then, however, when he started to create the clay work, again, he can connect back to the nature. And then he could make it in a positive way from this powerless and lost, very dark, sad moment. Becomes through clay, he could make it into the lightness and he can still connect to the earth. So that was a hope, and he feels hope from the clay work during the time.
Can I also just add to that there's this very important image of the tide in his work, and it's very interesting. I was fascinated to learn the clay that he works with is by the sea. He finds it by the seaside. So it's almost as if it's been deposited there by the same waves that caused all this terrible traumatic destruction. And it shows that nature can both create and destroy. And it's like that all those ideas and all that energy have been captured into the objects.
そのやっぱり先生のやっぱり近所の海際でその見ている波だとか潮騒というか、そういったものはすごく破壊的で、人間が太刀打ちできないぐらいの破壊力を持っている。同時に先生の作品のように猛烈ないいエネルギーもあって、その辺を自分は感じてますと、作品から。やっぱり先生にとって、
作品っていうのは私にとってその心象風景を言語形態ではなくて、そのなんだろう、共感というところで伝えてる部分があって、それを説明的にしたくないっていうのはあるんですけれども、より無意識なところ、なんでこうしたんだろうっていうところっていうのは一生懸命淡々とやった末にしか、集中した先にしか見えない風景で、その状態に達するまで私はこう作品と 接点を持ち続けて、気持ちいいと思った瞬間にとどめるっていう、作品に関してはそういう感じでとどめてますね。
He cannot explain with language, using language about this conflict between nature and then human, and also strengths and then weakness, the hope and then the positive. Those conflicts he cannot explain with languages, but in the unconsciousness, all of us can feel the same comfortable point, like who feels light, comfortable, take it easy, something that very nice point. He believes that under our unconsciousness we can have it, saying we can share it together. So that is actually his goal to through the clay work, something we can feel transcendent the languages. Clay work is his language.
Can I just say one more thing about that? I just wanted to add another layer to this, which is actually an idea of layering, because it strikes me also that his works often look very old. So they have this rich patina, and it seems like they have already lived a long time. And sometimes they also feel like archaeology, which of course is the act of digging through layers of the past. And yet at the same time, they have a very modern, sculptural, contemporary quality to them. And there's an idea of reinvention there. So I feel like another strong dynamic of the work, like some lightness, for example. Another one for me is the future and the deep past that seem layered together somehow.
先生の作品はそれと同時にその時間っていう観念においてもすごくその古い表面に見えますし、ある意味で地層学的というか、すごくその表面が新しいものには見えない、そういうこう時を感じる、長い時を感じる、古い表面に見えると。
これはあまりこう説明うまくできないんですけれども、小さい頃から気がつけば経年変化したようなもの、腐ったものとか錆びたようなものに無意識に惹かれる子供だったんですよ。で、家庭環境がそうだったのかもしれませんけれども、絵を描いても何でも味をつけたがるんですね。
なるほど。So since he was child, he always inspired and he prefers something very old or rusty or decay or like as his neighborhood, the coastline of the very old decay and rusty ship, and then dried salmon hanging on the shops, and those scenery he always like. And also he draws himself when he was little. He always put some colors, like an old look color, something decay. Probably he was a born child, like a wabi-sabi child.
だから今思うと子供ながらにその時間の経過とかを映し出されるものにすごくこう美しさを感じたんじゃないか、心を動かされてたんじゃないかって今は思うんですね。
Maybe when he was little, his heart was moved by the concept of the long time, the time that makes something changing, makes something different, the time. Probably he was fascinated when he was little by those concepts of the long, long time.
で自然界っていうのはすごい膨大な時間をかけて作り上げた造形美だと思うんですね。それはその自然という時間のリズムの中で作り出されたもの、風化といろんな力の流れの中でできたものだし、逆に私自身が作り出すものっていうのは一瞬なんですよ。その一瞬でのものの中にもしかすると永遠みたいな時間の経過みたいなのが あるんじゃないか。それを表現できるのは、唯一できるのは、本当の自分の言葉、本当に自分が感じた実感の力しかなくて、その心の本当の状態、なるべく本当の、自分を感じるようなものを映し出すっていう瞬間が、ものすごいエネルギーで時間を集約するんじゃないかって、個人的には考えています。
He understands that the nature itself, our planet itself, is a result of the huge amount of time. So compared with that, what he is doing is a very, very ethereal and very short time. So that's a big realization. And then he always liked to think about that long, long time ago and long time. His work is, opposites and conflicting elements such as crude and beauty, weak and strong, fleeting and eternal. Those are his inspiration, and then making some balance between.
There's also a wonderful balance. The work of art itself is one moment in time. But on the other hand, Izumita-san's work reflects that sense of nature as timeless, infinite, and it's an abstracted essence of nature.
泉田先生の作品はそういう意味でとてもその時間をタイムレス、時間を超えていますと、タイムレスであると言ってますね。永遠を感じますと。
Also, nature works in cycles. So it's a very different
Born, dying,
way of thinking about time than our goal-directed way of thinking about time. But I also love the idea, Felice, that Jomon pot that you showed us could be very recent compared to the life of the Earth. That, the time that separates us from the creation of that pot, even though ceramics are the oldest things we have, they're all basically contemporary compared to the Earth.
Right. As Browning's verse tells us, time's wheel turns back or stops. Clay and potter and clay endure.
神の詩をね、共有してくださって、その土と陶芸家は生きていくっていうその詩の終わり方が書かれていて、陶芸家っていうのはある意味そういう時間とか超えていく何かを作れるかもしれないですねって。
そうかもしれない。土を大げさに言うと、土は自然からいただいた一部、宇宙の方に広がっていくベクトルだし、作り出す陶芸家っていうのは逆に内側の経験とか実感とか知識とかからとにかく内々に向かったベクトルで、その接点においてものすごい膨大な内側と外側からやってくる距離を一瞬にして縮めるのが土との私、物との出会いだと思っていて、その接点で正直にその土に向き合う。そして土は土に対して敬意を持ってその素性を明らかに、この子はどうしたらどうなりたいのか、どのような可能性があるのかっていうふうに接していくことによって膨大な距離を通して一瞬の時間をそこに留めてるっていうようなイメージがものを作ってて最近しますね。
He is so happy being ceramic artist, because this way he can encounter the earth, which means he can encounter the time, because the whole earth itself, this globe earth itself, is the energy of expanding, producing and expanding, holding. However, the artist is more internal work, his own expression, his own creativity, and so more internal. So this is the spark between the earth expanding and then human creating inside. That is the point that ceramic artists can encounter, the time and earth. He is very happy being ceramic artist.
Yeah, wonderful. When we see the work as just on the slides that you showed, the pieces often look very monumental. And I wonder if Izumita-san has any plan to make large-scale sculptural pieces in the future.
先生の作品を見ていると何かすごく大きさを忘れてしまうようなものがあるんですけども、先生の中では大きなものを作りたいという思いはありますか？
もう一回ちょっと聞こえなかった。
先生の作品スケールとして大きなものを作りたいという思いはありますか？
あります。私もうちょっと頭良ければ大きな建築物を作りたかったんですね。
He would love to become an architect if he is always fascinated and then making something big and large.
だからできる限り焼き物でも大きなものを作りたいという願望は未だにあります。
He's dreaming to make something very large and then huge.
We're looking forward to it.
それを見たいですって。
いつかニューヨークに翔子さんのところにお送りします。
He would love to ship it from Japan to New York.
And Philadelphia.
フィラデルフィアにもお願いします。
Yes, yes.
And then I would like to also hear his thoughts about the connection between paper and clay. 先生にとってその紙とその土との関わりについてもちょっと聞きたいんですけれども。
はい、私は紙を使い始めたのはもう最初から使ってたんですけれど、若い頃から紙っていうものにすごく興味があって、一枚の紙っていうのはとてもいろんな情報を含んでいる。
So since he was little, he was always inspired and he loved paper. Paper is very small and then fleeting, but contains a lot of information.
で、紙っていうのは見ると二次元の世界に少しのエッジっていうか折ることによってそこに体線が生まれて三次元に変わっていく、次元を変えていく力がある。
Because paper has a power to change the dimension. Paper is two-dimensional, but once you start to make this fold, it's completely now three-dimensional. So the paper seems very weak, but he thinks paper is strongest material because the paper can change the dimensions.
仮にその紙が伸び縮みすれば今度は4次元も表現できるだろうし、次々に折りたたんでいけば、そして圧縮すれば今度は5次元とかそういう次元を変えていく力があるって。
Also, if this is a stronger washi paper, we put the water, we can even extend to become another dimension. And if we compress the papers, then fifths of the dimension. So he believes that paper can be very powerful and contains many informations. Like he said, books is paper, newspaper is paper, paper contains information.
そしてもう一つ、その紙っていうものを映し出すものっていうふうに捉えてたんですよ。
He thinks paper is something reflects you.
で、どんな大きな状況でも状況は1なんですね。無限ということはなくて、最初は1として現れる。紙を 1って捉えたんですよ。
he understands paper is a start point, and then let's say one. This is one.
そしてそこに自分の状況、自分の心の状態を素直に映し出すことによって無限の動きとか変化を映し出せるんじゃないかって若い頃考えたんです。
And that if you face on the paper, you reflect and then you see himself, and then that creates changes. So the one becomes no more one, but two or three or more and more.
ね、やっぱり折り紙もいろんなテクニックがあるように、その技術とか情報とかなんだろう、後からついてくるものっていうのは自分の自由度が最初に来て、そして自分の自由を移せないから不足を感じるからそこを後からどうしたらいいのかっていう思考が始まっていって、最終的に自分の心地よいと思う景色で収まっていくっていうのを紙で表現したかったです。
So that's how he realized that paper is limitless, and paper can make anything, and paper can be anything. So that's he appreciates paper more and more. So even he's a ceramic artist and he uses clay, his inspiration comes from the paper. Interesting point. Do you, Felice, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a wonderful explanation. I wonder, when he is working with paper, does he have a plan or design in mind, or is it a kind of kinetic action folding process?
作品を作るとき、そのあらかじめ計画というか、その紙にしても何にしても何かその設計図というものが最初にあるのか、あるいは思いのままに土に触れながら作っていくものなのか、ちょっと聞きたいですと。
最初のシリーズの最初のものっていうのはある程度こうなんだろう、漠然としたイメージがあります。でその漠然としたイメージをとりあえずスケッチしてみる。当たってるか当たってないかは別としてスケッチしてみて、でそれから具体的に、どうしたらいいのかっていうのを考えていく。
He first has some abstract vision, and then he uses pencil and then put on the paper some little sketch, like a very abstract image. This is his start point. However, once he starts creating and then work with the clay, it changes, and then the process of finding the balance.
もう一つはさっき言った折り紙を大量のDM の余ったものとかありますので、それを何にも考えないでとにかく手だけ自分の頭を使わない手のこの接点だけでそこに自分を集中させてただただ折っていくっていう作業をします。
And also he also spends some times not using brain. Just forget about brain and just use his hands and then put papers like any papers, newspapers or postcards or whatever he has. He can just start something with hands, not using the brain but just hands. And then sometimes hands knows better than what he thinks in the brain. So that also inspires him.
私にとって脳が判断していくっていうのは遅すぎるんですよ。心の動きの方、はって気がつく。あ、面白いっていう。
For him, the conscious or the brain is too slow to him. Our hearts, our hands are much faster than the brain. That's interesting. I like it. Yeah.
だからその時没頭して集中した時に気がつく風景 がまさに自分の心の風景、心の状態だっていうことに気づくんですね。
That's why his work is out of his mind or brain, only from his heart and then hands. So how he finds the comfortable point, that's the state of his heart, not the brain, but the heart. So through clay work, this is the process of finding his state of heart.
あとはそれを土に置き換えるっていう作業を後から考えるっていうことですね。
So the thinking or conscious or planning is just a brain work. It's too slow for him. Most important thing is the heart and hands.
Yes.
Very. And then, Izumita says, I see the pieces on the back of your office. Can you show us some pieces now you make? Like 最近の作品がちょっとこう見せてもらってもいいですか？
動かして。見えてる？
見えてます。すごく。これは新しいシリーズですね。
こうか。そうです。
Wow. Beautiful.
見えてます？
見えてます。素晴らしい。ありがとうございます。
はい。
ありがとうございます。We wanted to introduce you more of his killings and then more his workshop. However, it's where he's living is so far away from the town, and so it's hard to connect Wi-Fi there. So we cannot do that. Whenever I visit him from Tokyo, takes a bullet train to Sendai, and then waiting a bus station, the bus comes only one time per 1 hour, and it take another 2 hours to go to the bus station where he is living, and he will pick me up from the car, and car takes 45 minutes, so it's a half a day I spend just go there. So it's where he is really, really remote. No.
A good place to concentrate on work.
その作品に集中するには素晴らしい場所ですねって。
もう最高ですね。家と工房の毎日行ったり来たりだけでなりますね。
He's only traveling between his house and then workshop, so he's very happy. It's very peaceful.
都会に行くとすごく疲れます。人に会うのが疲れます。
Very tired when he's in city. When he was in New York, he's lost. People, too many cars, too many buildings.
土がいいです。
He loves clay. His friends is only clay, so he does not need to see people.
Well, we're grateful for artists like him, especially in this time of catastrophe. We need art and artists all the more. So thank you very much for continuing your work.
こういうやっぱりちょっと危機的なね、人間にとっていろんなウイルスの問題とかがある中で、先生の作品はそうやって安心感というか、癒しをね、与えてくれるから、それで嬉しいです。見れて嬉しいです。
I can't say it any better than that. It's a real inspiration to talk to you and see the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then,
Thank you.
Glenn, do you have any ideas or thoughts about where the artist is living reflects to the work?
Yeah, it's very interesting right now, isn't it? Because I'm lucky enough also to be out of the city, and this idea of being remote has taken on a totally different set of meanings now. And I guess maybe one thing I could say is that in this circumstance, if anybody can find anywhere that it makes sense for them to just be there and they can draw meaning out of that spot, then that's all we can hope for, because we all need an anchor in the storm. I feel like the work is very much like an anchor in that way.
その先生がそこに居座って作ってその場にいるっていうことはやっぱり作品はやっぱり船でいうと怒りのようなもので、その自分をそこにこう根付けるものであって、やっぱりどこで仕事するかっていうのはすごく重要であると考えてますっていうことですね。
そうですね。私もすごくその作る場所っていうのが自分を素直に出せる場所、何の虚栄も張らずに俗欲にもまみれることなく素直に自分が出せるところが最高の場所だと思う。
He appreciates his town where he's living is very peaceful because nobody interferes, and then that way he can be very focused and then concentrate on his work. I think that's very different as if he's living in a city, so many noises and then sounds interfere him. And then so we would like to now open up for some conversations with dialogues with audience. I see many friends here. I would like to ask any questions. If somebody, any questions or any impressions, I would like to connect the one of the biggest fan of Izumita Sensei's work. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Shoko.
Hey.
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When Yukiya looks at a sculpture like the one behind him, does he see it going somewhere? Is it coiling up in his mind, or is it uncoiling? Or is it just a frozen moment? Because I always look at them and think they're doing something, and if I could push a play button, I would see which way they're going.
先生がその今作ったばかりの作品が見えてるんですけれども、その作品は何だろう、こう積層からまた何かくっついて固まっているように見えるんだけども、どういった作品なのか。
私の中で一つリズムがあって、すごく最初はシンプルなものから始まり、やがてそれが時間の経過とともに蓄積され、そしてその蓄積されたものに圧縮をかけて変化して、でその圧縮されたエネルギーの流れのようなものがまた一つになっていくっていうその過程において今土をまたつけているっていうような状態で、そのたまたまつけた状態のものとその下地との収縮の違いがまた違う風景を生み出すっていう状況をどんどん重ねていきながら変化していくっていうところに今興味を持ってます。
Currently, he's very interested in something is shifting, something is changing. Accept changes, and then situations are changing. That's okay. That's his current theme and concept. So this piece, he first started using layers, but he put the clay back together on the surface again. So changes are okay, and then situations are changing. So that's theme of this piece.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. That's a very important question. How about, I see Mina. Actually, there are many people now connecting to the... So how about Bradley?
Is that?
Oh, there we go. Well, I see that Miwa-san has a question that she put into the chat, which is how important is the development of Izumita-san's own clay and the characteristics of the clay that he uses that allow for his creations.
Thank you. So 泉田先生の作品を見ていて、そのインスピレーションが、どういうふうに生まれてくるのかっていう話を聞きたいというところでした。
自然の風景から由来することが多々あるのと、あとはもう、フォーカスで言うと、もっと手前の石ころであっても、ちょっとした建築物の角っこ、エッジだったり、もう本当に何気ないところから、あ、面白いってところから始まりますかね。風景であれば心地よいっていうところから始まるし、だから心のそういう動き方から始まります。
So any single moment, any feelings in his heart, or even the edge of the concrete of this building, or any stones on the streets, anything can be a very big inspiration for him. And then whenever he feels something interesting, that's the start point of his creation.
Wonderful, but I think that's wonderful. But I think also the question also pertains to the physical characteristics of his clay and kind of the manipulation of his clay. You know, we have. I think it's very important that he uses local clay because, you know, Japan being so long, this long archipelago, the clay in, for instance, Arita or, you know, in Kyushu is very different from the clay near kind of Iwate and in the north. So I'm wondering, is there something specific about the physical characteristics of the clay that allow for his creations?
それとやっぱりその日本列島は長くて、その地形によって全く違う土を出してきます。例えば九州の有田とはやっぱり東北は違うわけで、そういう中でそのフィジカル、その物理的に土として何か違うもの、そのインスピレーションが自分の土地だからこそ起こることっていうのはありますかっていう。
はい、この辺の土っていうのは、すごく耐火度が高い。焼き締まる温度が高いんですね。溶鉱炉の内張りに使うような、いわばその普通の焼き物の温度で焼いてしまうとこう、クッキーのように折れてしまう。でもその折れてしまう土のその脆さをいかにこう、使えるまでの状態にして、その強度を持たせるかとか、そこにあるものをどう自分の経験と知識から活かせるかっていう、そのせめぎ合いの中に、その土地の個性っていうのは生まれてくるような気がしますので、とにかくあるものでよしとして、それをあれこれ自分が思考していくっていうようなスタンス。
So the clay uses his local clay. So this is his natural clay. And then this area's clay is very you need a very high temperature to fire. This is a salt-rich iron contained clay. So that's what he knows. So for your question, that's what he has, and that's what he knows. So he can create something what he knows. That's his answer. And
thank you.
Thank you, brother. That's interesting question. And I'm so amazed to see all of you now from Tohoku in Japan, and then Philadelphia, and then Glenn from upstate New York, and then Houston, and then Chicago, and then Vermont, and then Zoom is amazing. It's difficult to see like this in sometimes technical connections and some difficulties, but we are very blessed to be able to share this wonderful imagination and creativities, and then our passion for the art. And today's conversation we are going to close today. Thank you, Izumita-san. Thank you so much, Felice. And all of us feel now very inspired and energized. Thank you very much. And then for the audience, we are going to continue our conversations with the artists, and then please let us know anytime. We actually launched recently a new website, and then we are showing with more visuals, and then Izumita's works are also in a new website. So check it out. Thank you so very much, and have a wonderful July 4th weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for
coming. Thank you so much.
See you all.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.